Welcome to the Cross the Line podcast. My name is Carlos Smith, and today's episode is sponsored by Charlene's Home Cooking on 1136 East Blackstock Road in Moore, South Carolina. Charlene's Home Cooking is a family restaurant that cooks like grandma with fresh veggies, meats cooked to order. You can do a meat with 2 sides, a meat with 3 sides, or a veggie plate along with sweet tea, Kool-Aid, and lemonade. Cakes, pies, and cobbler are also available for dessert. She wants you to feel at home anytime you visit, so make sure you stop by Monday, Thursday, and Saturday from 11 to 6. And Friday and Sunday from 11 to 7. Everything is fresh and from the heart, and she would love for you to stop by and visit her. So thank you, Miss Charlene, for sponsoring today's episode of Cross the Line podcast. And today we have another special guest with us, kicking off our very first tour, the Self-Investment Tour. We are here in Chattanooga, Tennessee right now, and today I'm with the founder of Splash Youth Arts Workshop, Mr. Charlie Newton. How are you, sir?
Hello, I'm doing great, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for joining us. Like I said, we're kicking off our first ever tour, something we put together, me and my partner Calvin. It's just been a joy for people to respond and give us some love and feedback. So thank you for being the first guest for our tour. So.
Oh, well, wow, that makes me feel special.
Yes, sir. So we got to start it off right. So starting out, can you tell people what actually is the Splash Youth Arts Workshop?
Okay. Basically, Splash is a free art school for at-risk, mostly black youth, low income. And so 9 years ago, we moved into the West Side community, which is where we are now, College Hill Courts, into an old school building where I actually went to school in the first through the 6th grade. And we just opened it up and offered free art classes to the children in the community.
Okay, so they no longer use this school anymore. Is it just for the workshop?
Right. It's no longer used. There's a few people that come in periodically, a few ministries, but so basically there's not a school here now.
So was that automatically your decision? Like once you knew the school was vacant and you had the workshop, did you automatically knew you wanted to bring it back to your old school?
You know, that is a great question. No, I did not automatically know that, because I'm always also a minister, and I had been ministering out here for about 4 or 5 years, and so we had about 30 kids in our ministry. So when we found the school building, I was actually looking for a studio for myself. I'm a professional artist, and so when I found the studio, then it was sort of like obvious that with this huge space, we could use it for more things.
Right.
Yes.
So I know you said 9 years. So have you had this foundation for like the art center for 9 years total, or have you been actually doing this longer than 9 years with the students, with the youth?
Okay. Well, no, the Splash is 9 years old.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So,
Okay. Just making sure.
Right.
So for you, how long have you actually been doing design and been in art?
my entire life. It's the only thing I've ever done in my life. So at 5 years old, I discovered art, and I decided this is what I want to do with my life. And I've never done anything else my entire life.
Were you born and raised here in Chattanooga?
Born and raised here in Chattanooga. As a matter of fact, I lived in the projects right here, across the street from the school.
Okay.
And so at 5 years old, a 14-year-old guy who babysat my brother and I had drawn a picture of Spider-Man and Superman in color pencils. And he showed it to us. And when he showed it to us, you know, it hit me. I know the purpose of my life, you know. So I've been pursuing art my entire life.
So growing up in this area, I know you have close ties to it. What was your childhood like growing up in this community?
Well, it was weird because my mother and father was together, and we were very happy. I noticed that my parents were very strict on us. So they kept a close watch on what we did, where we go, who our friends were. And even though we were like the poorest people in this community, we didn't really realize, you know, how poor we was, you know. And I guess it's because we had a strong foundation as far as our home life situation. Yeah.
I saw something online that said it was kind of like a little comment you put online. Like, I'm trying to rediscover my childhood and utilize techniques that God placed inside of me at birth.
Right.
Did you feel like you may have missed out on something, like when you say rediscover your childhood, or
Oh, our childhood gets taken away from us. Education is one thing that can take your inherent abilities and talents away from you. So when I enter into college and start studying art, I noticed that the art teachers, you know, sort of threw away what I was already doing as far as my techniques and things. And later on, I discovered that's where it's at, really. You know, it's what's inherent in my ability. That's one of the most important things.
when you say the education system takes away our childhood, do you mean such as like, I guess, creativity, or what do you mean by necessarily like?
Well, I was speaking of formal education in art.
Okay.
So you learn all these techniques and things like that. But for me personally, what I came with was not appreciated. You know, so as a child, now I've been doing art all my life. Remember,
Right.
so I was discovering for myself and developing on my own long before I went to the university. And so as an artist, when I became a little bit more mature after I got my terminal degree, and you know, I started trying to figure out what is my signature, you know, what am I trying to say with what I'm doing, then I wanted to recapture that innocence and wonder and awe and truth telling of a child. See, you know, so as an artist, you want to be truthful to whatever it is you're doing.
Absolutely. So,
Yes.
so what would you say kind of steered you, like growing up in this environment? You say your parents were strict. Would you say they was kind of steered you away from like going down the wrong path?
Of course, of course. I mean, my father had a 4th grade education and my mother had a 3rd grade education, so they knew the importance of education.
Right.
And so they just would not let us run around in the projects because there were a lot of kids getting in trouble, stealing, fighting, joining gangs, and doing all that kind of stuff. And my parents wanted something more for me. They wanted something better for us. And so, you know, they kept a tight rein on us. We hated it as a child. We hated it. But I appreciate it now,
Looking back,
today.
right.
Yes.
So, and I know you say like growing up, you really didn't necessarily realize that you were poor. When was it ever a moment to you where you say, you know what, we don't really have was it as you got older, went to college, where you say we don't necessarily have all the resources that other people have? Or?
No, what happened was in the 7th grade, my 7th grade teachers took us on a field trip to explain to us, to explain to the class why we didn't need to be acting up and why we need to be serious about our education. And she took us up on the ridge, Missionary Ridge here in Chattanooga, is where a lot of the middle class and upper class people lived at the time. And she took us up to see those houses. And she taught us, see, you're poor, you know. And see, when I was growing up, of course, when I went to elementary school, the schools were still segregated. And so we had some of the best teachers, as far as African American black teachers, we had the best teachers. And they lived over here with us, actually, you know. And so we had access to some of the best education, but didn't realize the fact of really racism and the fact that my color meant something that, you know, somehow, you know, I was going to have a hard time because of the color of my skin. So my 7th grade teacher decided to let all the class members know, look, you know, you're poor. There are people who have a lot more than you, and there's a reason for that. So you need to be serious about your education.
Right.
Yeah.
So did of course, it's no longer segregation. Do you feel like once we integrated that kind of, like you said, you had a great education when things were segregated. Do you feel like it watered down the education for us once we integrated? Or?
I remember around 1976, 77, after I graduated with my bachelor's degree, it appeared to me, I noticed that the high school students didn't realize, to me, this is just my personal opinion, I don't know, I'm not a politician or anything,
Right.
but what I was saying is like, it seemed like they thought we were free. And we're not free. Doors, so many doors are closed. You can see it if you just have vision. You see all the doors that are still closed for us in America. You just look around, especially here in Chattanooga. All of the major businesses, the majority of them are not black owned. So just a matter of just looking and seeing. It's obvious.
Right.
So I noticed, and I think what desegregation did is a lot of our kids began to be taught by some people who could care less about their background and what they was going to face. So, even when I go into the schools, I noticed that the teachers and most black boys and girls are taught by white female teachers. And I notice how they treat them. And they're not treating them the way I treat them in splash class.
Right.
I'm like, you can do this, and I don't accept you acting a fool. I don't accept you not giving your best or not giving 100%. I do not accept. I don't think that this is just how you act. I know that you can do better. And usually when we bring a new student in, it takes about 3 months for them to come into a new paradigm, which is the art studio environment, which means work, quality, confidence, the whole 9 yards.
Talk about having teachers that look like you. In my opinion, I feel like that makes it for people like people our color. I think it makes a profound impact when you have somebody that looks like you.
I agree.
It's a lot more relatable. Of course, you still have students that'll veer off and do their own thing.
Right.
I feel like that'll still have a profound impact of children of color if they see someone that looks like them,
right,
instead of just seeing people on TV that's actually you on stage performing or dribbling a ball or anything like that. When you see somebody like in the classroom,
yes,
talk a little bit about how did that have a profound impact?
Oh, that's one of the key. I think one of our strong points is that you have an African American man who know a little bit about history and who have gone all the way through college to get the highest degree he can get in his field. And I'm actually talking to them, not cussing them out, but I'm talking to them and spending time with them, which is for a lot of the kids in the community, you don't have that. And so yes, I do believe that having role models that look like you is important, because it shows the child that, it's within my capabilities to achieve, whatever I want to achieve. But I think they also need to know that about systemic racism and things like that, and how on purpose, we have been kept back in the West from achieving, as far as most of us, as far as our people are concerned.
And of course, I always say that things have changed, but it's still like we still have a long way to go.
Well, for me, now, okay, I'm just going to talk to you. I'm just going to be straight as an artist, right? Because as artists, we're really looking at things. Okay, I'm really peering into. I mean, that's my job is to be a watcher to see. In my opinion, we're still in slavery. When you look at the percentage of black income to white income, we're still in slavery. I mean, nothing has really changed. The game has changed, but I don't believe any of these systems have changed. Look at what's happening to our neighborhood: gentrification, redlining. Look what's happening on the streets. We're still being murdered. We have always been murdered in the streets, but we didn't have cell phones. So we grew up knowing, and that the police. I mean, I was thinking the other day, a couple of weeks ago, when I was driving away from here. I remember walking down the street with I was probably in the 4th, 5th grade, walking downtown, which is like a few minutes from here, with my mother one Saturday morning, and what I saw was a intoxicated black man being arrested by 2 policemen. Well, he was intoxicated. He couldn't do anything. He was just drunk. And they beat him up. They beat him. I had never seen anything like that in my life. Now, imagine you in the 4th grade and you see these people beating this black man and throwing him into a paddy, what used to be called a paddy wagon. That's shocking. So, it's just that we know what type of world we're living in. I don't try to soften anything because I think our kids need to be so confident in their own abilities and who they are as individuals. I think all our kids deserve the right to be creative because that's where entrepreneurship lies, in that right brain thinking, in that creativity. And I believe all of our children need art, and that's the goal of Splash, is to get art to all of the children. Not that they're going to be artists, but they will use their right brain, and they will be more creative in their life.
I want to speak to that real quick when you talk about racism and how you said things haven't really, the game has changed. Things are still kind of the same. Why do you feel like we're not, I mean, of course, clearly you see everything that's going on, even with the president and everything.
Right.
But why do you think it makes people so uncomfortable to have these conversations? Even though times, like, we really need to have it, but for some reason,
it don't make black people uncomfortable.
Right. Absolutely.
I think it made white people uncomfortable because when you think about slavery, that's abuse. It's a traumatic 400 years of trauma, not just on the black side, but on the white side too. Just think if you had a marriage and the husband is abusive, and the children are going to be affected by that abuse. If you never deal with it, if there's never any closure, then the abuser cannot be healed. So everybody's sick. The abuser is sick, and so are the people who have been abused. So it's never been dealt with, And if I go back to my spiritual roots, I say it's just evil. There's evil in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make this whole thing political or anything, but regardless, of course.
And I'm not a politician, so I don't know the correct thing to say. So.
Right. So of course, we had that. It was supposed to be a debate, but it was just a mess Tuesday night. But
it didn't even surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised either. Honestly, my personal opinion, I'm definitely going to vote, and I never tell anybody not to vote because I feel like we're obligated to do that.
Right.
Everybody's registered to vote, but to me, I just look at it like it's hard to say because it's just like
it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
So what's the lesser of the two evils? So I understand. I don't know if most black people feel that way or not, but I definitely feel that way. I've been disappointed with the entire system for years because look at where we are.
Right.
And
to me, it feels like let's say Joe Biden does win, he does become president. Do you even think things will change or will it
no? I don't. Why would they? I mean, when have they?
Exactly.
And so history don't lie. If you ever studied the history of civilization, you see that America is a certain type of civilization. It's sort of like the Hellenistic civilizations. And so our culture, we have two things going against us. Our cultures are divided, I believe, and our politics are divided. So what does that mean? That just means conflict.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're just going to have conflict, unless. And this is something that a realization that came to me a few weeks ago, is that we always talk about systematic racism, and we talk about racist institutions, and we love to have conversations, but conversations don't amount to a hill of beans because nothing ever changes.
Right. So
we know conversations don't work. Whenever we see change in history, there was always war. Unless you can give me a situation where it happened without war. I mean, even when you look at South Africa, there was a lot of there was real conflict going on, in order to bring the world's attention people start losing their businesses. They start losing money. Things start getting blown up. And I'm not for that. I'm a minister. I believe in love and peace and all of that.
Absolutely.
So when you think about racist institutions, I think maybe the narrative need to change. We need to start talking about racist people who run institutions. Because if the people will be moved or changed or get saved or something, you know, have an awakening, whatever you want to call it, then that institution will not be racist anymore.
Right. And I think that's hard to get through to some of those people, like, just for instance, like we were saying with Joe Biden and President Trump. I don't think they'll ever change because these are 70-plus-year-old white men that are pretty much basically stuck in their ways at this point. So they're going to see things how they see it. And
Right.
they're not going to change, in my personal opinion.
Right.
And I just feel like, why do we have to be stuck with these two to be supposed
I know
to?
you don't have a choice. It's like your back is up against the wall, you know.
Right.
Our back is up. And that's why I believe that self-development is so important. That you develop your own skills, your own talents, you know, your own ways. Now, I hope that Splash will give kids, help kids to be able to think and solve problems. Because to survive in this land, you're going to have to be a problem solver.
Right.
You know, you're going to have to find new ways, you know, to make it, and new ways to live and to make a living and take care of your family. So I believe that when we can get involved, my way of getting involved is getting involved with people on the ground level, you know. And you know, you have people that will do better with politics, but I'm not a politician.
Right.
So I'm an artist, so I use what I have to try to help the situation get better.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you, because I love your honesty about everything, and I love having these type of conversations, because if we don't have it, nothing's going to change. But so what do you tell your kids, or are you able to talk to them about some of these things that we're having a conversation about now, like the racism?
First of all, I have no children. So my wife and I, we have no children, but I have about 65.
Yeah, that's what I mean, the students. Yeah.
Okay, students.
Yeah, that's why I mean
Right.
the
You
students.
know, see, on that board, I have a list of 11 things that the kids came up with in our last class. When the kids when we started a new semester, we let them come up with some rules. And they number one, they wrote respect the teacher, behave, listen, respect each other's space, follow instructions, respect supplies. And I harp on that with them all the time. Do your best, respect others, don't give up, have fun, and focus. You see how all of these things are internal? Because I believe that we have strength inside of us, you know. And I think the mindfulness and what art does is able to exercise mindfulness. And just think, these kids will come in here. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old that I'll allow to take classes with my 9 and 10-year-olds. And they can focus for 2 hours straight making art. So knowing who you are, what your purpose is, you know, I mean, I'm not talking politics with them.
Right.
You know, they'll get that. They're going to get that in life. No, we're using art, you know, to help make them into more productive citizens, you know. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And would you say that's kind of like your inspiration when you create your pieces of work, like the things like I think you kind of alluded to earlier, like the things that you see going on in society? Or is that kind of like some of your inspiration for when you?
I'm affected by what goes on, and I think it's my wife is an artist too, and we talk about this every now and then. She's from England, so she's a they call them Afro-Caribbeans in London, in England. She's black from England, and her upbringing was a little bit different because England is a little bit more in the world. America is like a little island, and we are. It's kind of like we don't know what's going on on the rest of the planet, and that's very limiting to a person. If you don't know what's going on in the rest of the world, your mind is controlled by what you see on television or the internet or whatever, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even now, you can't even see world news. So you don't know how other countries,
Right.
think. You don't know other philosophies, other ways of doing things, or what have you. And so I don't even know if I'm answering your question. I went off on
Go ahead.
the tangent, but we're so limited. So I try not to focus. I think it's a shame. Now it affects me because I'm born in America, born in the South. I've been discriminated against, my entire life. I've dealt with racism, the whole 9 yards. So, as an artist, that comes out a lot, But I'm also saved. I'm also a minister. So I try to infuse righteousness and morals and all of that into my work. Hope. And I believe you can do all things, whatever you put your mind to.
Mm-hmm.
I try to put that into my work too. And I try to make sure that my work is excellent, par excellence. I try to make sure my work is worthy of somebody who's been doing this their entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
How did you, speaking about the ministry, how did you actually get into the ministry?
Well, that's a long story too, man. You want to be here all day.
No, we got so we on the road, we on tour.
Oh man, I ran for ministry for a long time, but okay, I'm gonna tell you a little story. I'm gonna try to make it quick for you. Okay, so at 5 years old, a 14-year-old guy named Brother, I don't even know what his real name, all we know we called him Brother, was babysitting my brother and I. I was 5, he was 6. So he said, I'm going to show y'all something. So he had drawn pictures of Batman and Superman in color pencil. I had never seen a drawing. I didn't know what art was. And a light came through the window. It's a light I haven't seen but twice. A light came through the window, and I knew that's what I was going to do the rest of my life. And every day since then, I've been drawing, trying to make a drawing, trying to do that. And I'm 67. So I've been doing that ever since I was 5 years old, okay? So for 62 years, I've been drawing and painting. Now, that's when God touched me. Also at 5 years old, I tried to imitate my pastor at church. When he would say something in the pulpit, I tried to say it. So I think God was trying to tell me something. I believe all artists have a prophetic gift. And so growing up, people said I was mature. I wasn't mature. I would just watch you and see what you're doing, and I'm using common sense. Mm-hmm. So, but today, that's considered prophetic. So, when God called me to preach, I was working for a billboard company. I was getting high, and every day I go home and get high because I didn't like my job. Mm. And one day I got high and drew a picture automatically. That means you know what automatic drawing is? Mm-hmm. Now I'm talking to somebody on the phone and drawing, so I don't know what I'm drawing.
Oh, okay.
That's automatic. Okay. You're not looking at it. When I looked at the drawing, it was me standing up preaching with an airplane above my head. Wow. So, as an artist, I could read that drawing. I already had my degree by then. So I could read that drawing. I said, that's me preaching, and I'm flying overseas somewhere. In 2 years, I had flown overseas. I had gone to England. On the second day, I was in the, you know what I mean, the underground in England? That's the tube, the subway system. Okay. And my wife comes into the underground, and I can't see her face, but I see that same light that I saw as a child. Hmm. And I prayed to God, let me have her.
Wow, that's awesome.
The next day I went to Italy, and the second day I was in Italy, I went to Italy with a scholarship from University of Georgia to do their studies abroad program. And I'm walking through these ruins with grass as high as my waist, writing a report for art history, and the voice of God called me and told me to preach. Wow. So that's the story. I know it's
a great story, though. Great story. So when you do does that make things kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, like racism, like just being a minister and seeing all this stuff? That growing up, and you said being discriminated against, of course,
Right.
I could see how people that went through that could have resentments towards white people, but being a minister, that kind of help you have more compassion for white people.
Right, because all people are the same, really, for me.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is just me, Charlie Newton, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, white people and black people have been traumatized by racism in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody forgot where we came from. Now we realize because of the color of our skin that we come from Africa,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't always realize, and whites don't always realize, that they came from Africa too. That Africa is a cradle of civilization, and really everybody on the planet, we are all Africans.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing about the color of a person's skin that make them different than anybody else. Is that
Right?
Yeah.
But I always wonder, like, what.
This is just my way of
Right.
looking at it.
And for me, I'm always like, what happened to where it's like the history, our culture, just like it's just kind of been like watered down. Like what happened to where everything was just kind of like where we don't even really know.
It had to
our
be
history.
for slavery, for people to, to get rich off of us. They had to try to destroy, but it didn't work. But they had to try to destroy our culture.
Mm-hmm.
In order to, not just our culture, but Native Americans, First Nations people, and everybody you can mention. Any culture on this planet you can mention. The pursuit of wealth. People use that to oppress other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so we have to seek out our own history. We have to do our own research. We have to teach our own children.
Mm-hmm.
But oppression will keep that stuff from you. That's on purpose. That's done on purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you think we could do to kind of get these things back into our education system? Because I remember we spoke back in, I think, June or July. We had the mayor of Chester on Wanda Stringfellow, and she was talking about how they were going to try to institute a African American history class in Chester, but for some reason it got canceled because they didn't have a teacher for it. How do you think we can incorporate those type of things back into the schools, or do you even think they'll even allow that to come back in?
Well, I don't know because I'm not the expert
Right.
in that. But for me, I think those of us who went to school and who maybe have a degree in history, we need to start thinking about our own village. If we wouldn't be, we need to. Somehow we were taught to be selfish. I think slavery and Jim Crow and 500 years of oppression and degradation have made us, we don't even stay with our own children no more.
Mm-hmm.
We desert our own children. We're very, very selfish. So as a minister, I think if you get Jesus,
Right.
the Holy Spirit's going to get in you,
Yes, sir.
and the love of God is going to be in you. And you can't help but love because God is love. But in the meantime, those of us who have the knowledge should share the knowledge, because kids spend 20% in school and 80% of their time in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of time to teach. Why are we allowing the schools to teach our children? We can teach the pandemic is teaching us that we can teach our children.
Absolutely.
Now what are we teaching our children?
Absolutely.
Now you can't teach what you don't know, so you may have to study yourself. But we're living in the information age. You can find out whatever you need to find out about.
On Google. Yeah, everything. You hit the click of a button, get on Google.
Yeah. I think a lot of us have self-hatred, and we've taught that to our children. I can't tell you how many times when we get new kids in class, the first few days, if they're from different neighborhoods, Okay, now we have to deal with you posturing, trying to prove that you tough and you bad. And now you got to fight everybody in the class, the boys especially. And girls too now. And we've taught our children self-hatred. And I think if we could learn to love ourselves, then we could love our neighbor as ourselves. So it's all about, for me, it's all about love, demonstrating love. Not just talking it, but demonstrating love. Because a lot of people can talk love. A lot of preachers can talk love. But do they demonstrate love? Are they in the streets? Are they in the schools, hospitals, what have you? Are they talking to the gangbanger? Or are they just joint? Now, I'm a preacher. I'm saying that myself. The place where we're supposed to be learning about the love of Christ, we're just learning how to be selfish. That's just my opinion, but
I want to stick to what you said about the pandemic. What was the biggest thing that you've taken away, like the biggest lesson you learned from this pandemic that's been going on?
From two levels, one as a preacher and one as an artist. So which one you want to hear?
Both. I'll take both.
So, okay, as a minister, what I learned, and we find all our answers in the Word of God, right? And we quoted the scripture for years and years. Everybody know it. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, God said, then will I hear from heaven and heal the land. And the verse before that says, if I send a pandemic, this is what I want you to do. I want you to humble yourself. This is talking about God's people. Pray, seek his face, and then change. We have to change. So what the Lord's been teaching me is God wants me to change. And God wanted me to stay in. He wanted to sequester me just like he did the children of Israel, just like he's done several times in the Bible, so that he can talk to me. And I think God wants to speak to his people. And my fear is that these mega church pastors won't hear that because it's all about money. But they won't hear that. I'm afraid that they won't hear it. And so when we go back, the church will not have changed. And so as a minister, I believe God wants us to change. But whenever you spend time alone with God, guess what? You grow. No doubt. You grow. Your vision becomes clearer. You become stronger. You're more anointing. Your anointing grows. Everything changes. You have more power. You have more love. You have more wisdom because you spent that time working on yourself.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's what we did. I've been enjoying this year. I told a good friend of mine in North Carolina that I've created more artwork this year than I have in the last 25 years. Because God said stop, and I stopped. So stop and be me. So who am I? I'm an artist. So all I had to do is do me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'm much stronger now. So, yeah, the pandemic has helped me. Also, normally we might have 15, at the most 30 people in this class, say like on a Saturday morning, like tomorrow. Tomorrow, when we do our live feed, we'll have 150.
Oh, wow.
So we're actually reaching more people. And so we're learning technology. Well, I'm not learning. My wife is learning technology, and she's become a producer, a camera person, an IT person, the whole 9 yards, because all I have to do is teach.
Right.
So I'm teaching the class, but she's learning all this equipment and stuff, and we're reaching more people. So there's always a blessing in the storm. And what an artist needs, guess what an artist needs the most? Not money. Guess what an artist needs to be happy and to thrive and survive?
People see your work?
No. No. Time. That's what an artist needs. See that big old canvas there? Can't wait to get started on that. Just finished that small canvas there. See, time. That's what we need. See, I'm not pursuing money. I'm pursuing me. Who am I? Why am I here on the planet? Right. And so if I can just be me, I'm going to survive. No, I'll get to England where I'll meet my wife. I'll get to Italy where God can call me. You know, I'll get to the West Side where I can teach kids. You know, all I had to do is just be me, because I believe that we are all here for a purpose.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, like I always said also that, you know, this gave me a chance, you know, to be still for a moment, because we're always like ripping and running and
Yes,
working.
yes.
You miss out on time with your family. I know you hear some some people getting divorces because they have to be stuck at home with this and that and other, but
Right.
which is crazy to me. You know?
Right, yeah.
But you know, it's a chance, you know, take time to, you know, kind of like you said, like find yourself and be still and build that relationship with God. But
Yes,
but
yes.
it was definitely great. But of course, do you still miss that feeling of course, like
Of
that
course.
face-to-face interaction
Of course.
with the kids?
Of course, that's personal.
Mhm.
Yeah, of course I miss that. So I reject the idea of a new normal. I reject that.
Mhm.
You know, because this is not normal.
Right.
so and this will never be normal.
Right.
So I reject that civilization is going in that direction. You know, where it's amazing, man. I can't help but look at it prophetically. It's kind of like the Lord saying, you can't see how you're living on planet Earth, so I'm going to show it to you. You know, you're making each other sick. You're destroying each other. And we see that every day. We see people who could care less. Even our president, for months and months, could care less, who got sick. Now he and his wife are
Now
sick.
he had it. Yep.
Yeah. I'm showing you.
Mhm.
And we're seeing how, you know, we're just driven by things other than what really matters, you know. And this, it's crazy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's
Speaking my, I love the honesty. I love the honesty. That's what we're here for. But yeah, it's like you said with the president. It's for so long to him it was a hoax, but now he's one that's got the virus too. So it's,
yeah.
like you said, this thing is absolutely been revealing. I want to ask you about get back to Splash for a second. What's the lesson that you learned from the children?
Oh man. Wow. Everything. The children, I mean, that's their work up on the wall there, by the way.
Okay.
And we actually frame their work and we sell their work. Presently, Splash has an art show at the Chambliss Law Center here. And all the work is for sale. They have artwork up at Arts Build, Chattanooga. All their work is for sale. And they have artwork up at in Hamilton Place. I forget. I don't want to say the wrong name. For some reason, the name of the hotel escapes me. But we actually sell their work. When they do something great, we get it, we frame it, and we sell it, and the child gets half of the money, and half goes back into the program. And so the children are learning about entrepreneurship. They're learning about, you know, why it's important, why quality control is important, why doing your best is important, and focus, and all of that. And I learned from the children's art. I love how free they are and how honest their art is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm learning, you know, just to be open and to be free and to be honest, allow new things to happen. Not to have so much control over everything. No, the older we get, the more we try to control things, you know, and how to kind of let go, you know, and
we got a few more questions and we'll get ready to wrap it up.
Okay.
If you could go back, just anything along your journey, is there anything you would do differently?
You know, I don't know what I would do because every decision I made, you know, it was the decision to make. I don't know if I would do anything. I think I'm living my purpose. So, and I've been living my purpose since 5 years old. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Is there any way that people watching this interview, is there any way they can contribute to the Splash?
Yes. They could go to our website, splashyoutheartsworkshop.org, and they can see a place where they can give a donation. Also, Splash Youth Arts Workshop has a Facebook page. They can, or they can look up Charlie Newton on Facebook and go to my homepage and find a place where they can donate.
Absolutely. And as I said, this is the self-investment tour, our first ever tour that we put together. So my question I want to ask you is, how important to you is the self-investment?
To me, that's the best business advice I've ever heard. How can I ask anybody else to invest in me if I want to invest in myself? So, you know, I found that the more I invest in the work I'm doing, the more people come on board to help me do the work. And so, yes, I definitely believe in investing in yourself. How can you be of any service to anybody if you don't actually believe in yourself?
It's true.
So you have to really believe in yourself, but I think we have to be willing to learn new things too. And that's another thing that this pandemic is helping, because I believe God told me, look, I don't care how many people go back to work and go back, you don't leave until I tell you to leave, because I have something I need you to be different after this is over with. So I want to be different, and I pray the church will be different too.
Absolutely. I want to ask you something else that we talked about earlier when you said something about like basically slavery still hasn't ended. How do you think, is there any way that you feel like we could potentially just break free and like get out of this, what people would say is modern day slavery?
Now again, I'm not a politician.
Right.
I'm not an expert in this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? Personally for me, there seem to be a lot of people who look like us, who have positions, who are trying to please white people.
Absolutely.
And what they become gatekeepers, or they become a barrier to the entire culture. You know, it's like, so we need to learn how to love ourselves and understand there's a reason why, you know, the prisons are full of black people. There's a reason why, you know, young men are killing each other in the streets. There's a reason why. And that reason is oppression. You know, that reason why, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years of oppression, you know, have caused this self-hatred. So if we can love our people, you know, as we love ourselves, and be committed to the least of these, you know, I think that we can break free. I've broken free. And you know why I've broken free? Because every day I do exactly what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't feel like I'm forced to do anything.
Right.
So I do whatever I want to do every day. And I explain that to the kids when I first meet them. You know, it's possible for you to be who you want to be. But let's stop looking at what society says is success. For me, success is doing what I want to do in life. That's success, yeah.
Yeah, success is all subjective, you know, of course. But one of those things, I also, like you were saying, to me, like I always tell people, there's nothing wrong with having a job, but like you said,
Right.
that freedom that it gives you to do what you want to do is to me is very rewarding. That's why we put together this right here, and I'm happy that you were able to join us, because it was like we wanted to create our own opportunity, and we're making that transition for, you know, working for someone else to, you know, create our own opportunity, and we want to show other people to do the same thing. But it's for some reason it's kind of like, I guess, like in a sense, it's like when you see this growing up, like in a home, like with your parents, and you see them getting up and going to work with somebody else all the time. Like, if you don't see anything different, you don't have that exposure.
Right.
And it's kind of like you may end up following suit and doing the same thing.
That's true.
And giving a company the 30, 40 plus years, best years of your life. Mm-hmm. It's like we just have to break that cycle. But
yeah, and some people need to work for companies. You know, some people, that's what they want. Some people, all they want is a good job. You know, and that's great. That's great. If job is you know, if you've been fulfilled with the work, I think we should be fulfilled
Right.
with the work that we are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for black folk, it's more difficult because of all the barriers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked a job before. You know, I worked one job. I worked one job before when I first got out of college. You know, in billboards, and you know, I couldn't get promotions. They was discriminating against me and all that kind of stuff. You know, and that makes it really tough because I want to go higher in the job. You know, I don't mind, you know, going through the steps and ladders, but then they're saying, no, this is as far as you can go. Now that's
Absolutely.
an issue. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think faith, it goes back to faith. I think faith, my personal faith gives me an edge.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it gives me a little extra security and push, and, you know, and so when I'm crying to myself or I'm discouraged or whatever, you know, the hard times, I have something to undergird me.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe faith really helps a person, you know, yeah.
And like you said, like being discriminated against and not getting up that ladder, sometimes it's like, even if you have more experience,
Yes.
just because somebody else is more relatable or they like that person,
Right,
they're going to get the job just because they feel more comfortable with that person.
right. A lot of times it has nothing to do with your talent at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can work hard as you want to and hone your skills and everything. I'm sure you know that.
Mhm.
And no matter how talented you are, you know, and many times it's because of the color of your skin or the fact that you, like me, I'm outspoken. This is just who I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm very honest. I'm an honest person.
And people don't like that type
And
of
people
stuff.
don't like honesty at all.
Right.
And so that can hold you back too. Just being honest can hold you back.
And it's just like a double standard. Like I like sports. Like for instance, like certain black athletes when they speak out, it's like they're angry, they're jealous.
Right, yes.
You see a Tom Brady or one of those white
Right.
athletes. They say they just showing passion and they love
Yes,
the game.
no doubt.
But that's just how it is for us in society. For some reason, it's just like
Yes.
they look at us totally different. And
Right,
like you
right.
said, we're not. It's hard for us to climb up that ladder
Yeah.
for what. Well, we know how it is, but of
Right.
course, it's just like you said. We just have to find what truly makes us happy and what's fulfilling to us. But Mr. Newton, I think we're almost done. My final question: I say, do you have any other future business endeavors or goals for yourself?
I'm really loving what I'm doing. I'm really loving what I'm doing, you know. So it's just I just want to do more of what I'm doing, and I want my art to be seen by more people in the world, you know. And you know, one of the problems we have too is we always put in this category of like this is a black artist. So no matter how much skill you have, or education, or experience, or how hard you work, you know, somebody can come up who haven't even learned anything yet, and you still put into that same category because of the color of your skin. You know, so I'm having to deal with that, breaking through those type of barriers. You know, but meanwhile, you know, I'll just keep working and doing my thing, and yeah.
I want to ask you about that when you say you're a black artist. Do people look at you differently or when you say
I
things
think
like you're
so.
an artist?
I think so. Yeah, my entire life, yes. For instance, around February, I get a whole lot of calls.
Black history.
yeah. And I said, no.
Right.
You know, so now every month should be Black History Month. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so yeah. I mean, we live in, you know, this is the South too. The South is horrible.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, so we
Most
have to deal
definitely.
with all this stuff that don't. It really is. It's not logical, but it's how it is because people want to keep us down. You know, so that's,
As a black artist, do they try to, like, I guess compared to other artists, do they try to like lowball you sometimes, or just because of the color of skin, like, well, this is, even though you have just as good quality of work, they may say this is more value, or how is it? Have you experienced
well,
anything
when I
like
was
that?
studying, black art wasn't even taught to me in college. The school I went to get my MFA, I was the second black person to ever get an MFA at that school. That's Old Dominion University. So, you know, our culture hasn't been accepted, no. Or it's been, our culture gets watered down too.
Right.
You know, so it has, we can't just be us, you know, in all our rawness, you know.
Right.
And it gets watered down. So yes, I would think that, yeah, these things are in place, you know, to look at us a certain way, which is always, it seems to me to be less than. You see a lot of the black artists who are raised up, they're doing stuff that I wouldn't show my children. They're doing images of us that are very negative. And that, a lot of times, that get raised up to a high bar.
And it seems like you have to do that. Like
Well, I try to do proud images of us.
Right.
Powerful.
but
heroic.
Right. And it seems like overall, even in society, we have to look a certain way to get that publicity.
We have to be a buffoon.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, make them laugh. Make them laugh, you know, be a clown or something like that.
And
You know?
just like you see, or we have to be on TV fighting or doing those
The
type
whole,
of
yeah,
things to
yeah,
get
crazy
attention.
stuff, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not black culture at all.
Mm-hmm. But when people see those things on TV, which is bothering me, because when they see those things on TV, that's how they paint an image, perceive us.
Yes.
And I always say this about I'm a sports guy. I like to watch football and basketball, but sometimes it bothers me when ESPN, when a kid is being drafted, the black kid comes from a broken home or his parents was on drugs, but when the white athlete gets drafted, then he had a 4.0 GPA.
Right.
Parents are married or they have this kind of business, but
Yes.
it's like, how come we have to look a certain way,
Right.
but then on the other side, it's just like a squeaky
Part of
clean
the same system.
Exactly.
That's why I say we're still slaves. You know,
Absolutely.
basically we're slaves.
Yes, sir. And it's just like I hope in time, like with this election, I don't think anything is going to change. I think they are who they are.
Right.
We're in this system, but hopefully it's some kind of way that we can like break free of this slave mentality and come true to
I think it's beginning to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's happening on the streets at street level.
But and I will say I do like to see more people my age that also, and more people in general, that creating their own opportunities.
That's true.
Starting their own businesses.
Right.
And I do think for me, I'm not a Trump. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but I think when he got in office, more people like we need to. It kind of felt like we needed to band together a little bit more, even though we still have people that we still have those things where it's fighting, killing each other and all that. But I do see people like we are banding together, like we are supporting more black businesses and things like that. And I feel like that's one of the things that I did see come from this presidency and going forward. I don't know what's gonna happen.
He didn't know that was going to happen. That wasn't on purpose. You know?
Right.
Yes, sir.
This has been these past 4 years have been something totally different. I'm 28 years old, so this will actually be, I want to say this is maybe my third time being able to vote, because I was able to vote for Obama his second term, because I was still in high school his first time. So this will be actually my third time getting a chance to vote, but I haven't seen anything quite like the stuff that we've got going on. But other than that, I would still just tell people to vote, and of course, like we said, this is a self-investment tool, so invest in yourself.
Yes.
And also, I love to say invest in your people. If you see them doing something great, support them. But like you said, sometimes we
go to them. Look for, like, if you're going to build a house, look for a black builder or a black architect. You know, look for someone, because there's a lot of us who've been out here who haven't been supported, but more of us have the means now. You know, I mean, we can design things that probably you've never seen before.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, seek us out and seek out the black business, and then make a decision. You know, whatever business serves you best, yeah, you're going to use that, of course, but seek us out.
Absolutely. Well, Ms. Newton, I want to thank you for your time. We really enjoyed it here. Like I said, self-investment tour. We're in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Thank you.
I enjoyed this conversation. Just the knowledge you gave us in this hour, and just how open and honest you were. Because, like you said, a lot of times people are not willing to have these conversations. It makes a lot of people uncomfortable. But definitely hearing this, we have these conversations a lot. I enjoy it, because if we don't have it, then it's just like things will continue to stay the same, and and we'll still be oppressed. But
I
of
agree.
course,
I agree.
we definitely need this conversation. Before we get out of here, can you tell everybody once again how to find you?
Okay, SplashYouthArtsWorkshop.org. We also have a Facebook page, Splash Youth Arts Workshop, and Charlie Newton. You can find us on my page as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Mr. Newton, and hopefully everyone enjoyed this interview. So until next time, keep chasing your dreams. This is the Cross the Line Podcast on the Self-Investment Tour. Thank you for listening.
Hello, I'm Charlie Newton from Splash Youth Arts Workshop, and I'm tuned in with Cross the Line Podcast.